Hello team and welcome back to another Line Warcast. This is a 4v4. On Alpha team is Infenzia in blue, the color red in red coincidentally enough, Numpty in orange, and Tim Baylor in teal. On Bravo team we got Alex Donald Roland, also known as ADR, in pink, Meaty Hams in green, Super Crumpets in purple, and Yan in black. We're on seed 657,848. All asymmetrically generated, all these seeds in Line War. This is the setup to start off. In Alpha Team, Numpty is in the top. The other three players on Alpha Team on the right-hand side. Bravo Team more evenly distributed amongst themselves. Meaty Hams in the mountains here. A lot of factories at the moment for Bravo Team. This is Alex Donald Roland in this little field. Crumpets is in the little choke going for 4 factories. And a refinery immediately. 2 fineries, rather, immediately for Super Crumpets, and 4 factories for Yan going for a first refinery. Presumably a lot of tanks in this game, both purple and black on Bravo Team are opening up what is going to likely be 4 factories, all going tanks. Meaty Hams has a mix of 3 factories now and 3 barracks in this mountain range. Alpha Team on the right-hand side, and Fenzia's got a town going. Bombers out of an airport after 2 factories and a first refinery. The color red, building 2 red tanks, and also securing an energy location. And Tim Baylor going for 4 factories, all going artillery, and 1 barracks that is capping. So Alpha Team will have to go help out Numpty relatively quick here. The good thing for Numpty on Alpha Team is that they are building their buildings in this forest and mountain range, which is a great defensive position. It will be able to buy a lot of time for Orange to get reinforcements to arrive. First 3 tanks for Super Crumpets are now out, heading towards what is going to be the front lines. And a very good energy network already set up by Bravo Team. These 2 refineries by Crumpets, and now this 1 refinery by Yan, getting connected to these 2 depots. Meaty Hams built a depot as well to start getting some of this energy. Might be seeing like a tank switch from green as well. At some point, at least. There's no other energy units that green is making at the moment. And there's no airports on the way or anything for green, so it would actually have to be tanks out of the factory. The only energy unit that green could possibly make. And very strong eco start, it looks like, from Alpha Team. Tim Baylor's got a town going on, and Fenzia just dropped their 2nd town. First bombers done for blue. And the bombers will be very nice because the range of these bombers will be able to hit pretty much everything here. Certainly everything in green's base, and potentially a little bit of ADR's set up right here. First contact between Numpty and ADR, or rather, I think this is actually Super Crumpets. This is purple. It's actually a mix of purple and pink for these infantry. As mentioned, it'll be kind of difficult for them to get into the mountains, especially because Numpty's already got a handful of artillery pieces. And we hear tanks going everywhere. Crumpets is going to send the tanks to the top right. At this point, both teams likely know where the other ones are. This is Alpha Team's vision. So the starting location for green is relatively obvious given where these infantry are showing up. And for Alpha Team, same thing goes. In the same way that Numpty has a good defensive position in the forest and mountains, so does Meaty Hams. Meaty Hams has a lot of mountain between this blue army and this red army that's approaching. First tank for the color red is taking on all these infantry in the forest. The forest gives those infantry an attack and defense bonus. So usually the tank would trade a lot better than this against the infantry, but it's about to get taken out, and it does. Crumpets has a large number of tanks in the north, destroying this capping group from Numpty, and boxing in Numpty on the right-hand side. The army from Tim Baylor is going to be able to try to break this encirclement. And Numpty's going to dig in at the moment. But once Alpha Team shows up and really starts contesting this forest, we'll likely see Orange move out. to open up another front. The color red's tanks are going to try to venture through this mountain range, which is going to be tough because the tanks are going to move super slowly through it. And second airport for Infenzia, who now has 2 bombers and a third one about to complete. This army from Infenzia is actually doing a really good job and will draw more green units down to the south to try to defend against this, which potentially will open up room for these 2 tanks to get something done, but at the same time it is tanks moving through an uncontrolled, or rather an enemy controlled territory, so they're going to move super slowly. Numpty is now taking all these tanks and in a lot of trouble. Yan's got 6 tanks on the north. Crumpets has enough tanks to just move through this defensive line and just brute force this situation, which adds a little bit of urgency to Alpha Team to be able to try to help out Numpty, because Numpty might get knocked out of the game. This is a lot of tanks. 2 players, I mean, it's essentially a 2v1 against Orange here. And unfortunately, both the players attacking Numpty are bringing the best units on land to win in this straight up battle, this straight up fight. And you can just see how strong tanks are once they get on top of the production facilities. And this very likely will knock Orange out of the game. We'll have to see. Numpty will have to build a barracks somewhere else on the map, or a building in general somewhere else on the map. Once you lose all of your buildings, you're knocked out of the game. We'll see if Orange can build it in time. Just down to 1 factory, 1 barracks. We'll keep that in the picture. Good defense from Meaty Hams, who also gets some help from ADR to push back Infenzia. And there's that barracks we're talking about. Numpty builds it in the north to stay in this game. Certainly, Bravo Team has a little bit of an advantage now, just by destroying all of this value in Numpty's starting location. And Crumpets is going to send the tanks down to likely try to help out against this army from Tim Baylor that's pushing. There's no tanks with this teal army, so it'll be difficult to deal with all of the purple tanks. Really, in general, you need to have a lot more infantry that are doing great body blocking in order to take on tanks if you don't have tanks of your own, or of course planes. Infenzia now has 4 bombers that are set up. This is the route they're going to take through the mountains. They will get a pretty good scout and then also start softening up these defensive positions. The color red is digging in here while moving out 6 tanks. The digging situation is a little bit tough just because when your units are dug in, they're not actively capping. So we'll see if this pays off for red. Tim Baylor has a decent number of artillery in the north, but as mentioned, this is a lot of tanks from Crumpets, who now takes a 3rd refinery by where Numpty's starting base was. There's still 4 tanks in the north for Yan that are going to pressure these 2 barracks. Great play from Tim Baylor to move these infantry and artillery up to the north to try to defend these buildings. The big problem here for Orange is that as soon as Yan sees that this is where Numpty's rebuilt, it's relatively easy for Crumpets to just send the tanks up north and finish off these barracks. There's not enough teal units there to really stop that many tanks. The color red's tanks are fearlessly moving through this mountain range again. If they can get past the mountain range and kind of behind this line, they could be able to do a lot of damage to this upcoming airport from Meaty Hams, or just drive towards Crumpets factories. It'll be a little bit tough because Crumpets is building tanks, so there'll be like a defending army for Purple to take this on. This is the big moment that matters in the game. Numpty builds a factory at a very unfortunate time, just in time for these purple tanks to show up, destroy it, and they will be able to destroy both these barracks. We'll see if Numpty has enough money to build another barracks, which Orange does. But unfortunately for Numpty, there's no other good spot to build it. I mean, Numpty's just in a really tough situation. Yan's army is right on top of this, and Orange will be knocked out of the game because there's no real presence from Alpha Team in the north to be able to defend any sort of territory that Numpty would be able to take. Numpty is knocked out. There's enough SAMs here for Meaty Ham's very good read to build this many SAMs to take out the bombers. And now Red decides to move out, pushing through the forest. It's an extremely, extremely tough situation for Alpha Team because all these producers from Pink get to just get sent forward towards this front. There's no real reason that Pink needs to send any units to the north now because Yan's army is going to be able to defend this refinery and then start pushing to the north. Then there's still a good number of tanks for Crumpets at the top of the picture. First helicopter is done from Meaty Hams. There's a full flower of SAMs from Infenzia, who's building a fifth factory. So the helicopters will have to pay attention to not hit those SAMs. They are a little bit stealth because they're in the forest. But if Meaty Hams doesn't want to use the helicopters on top of those SAMs, this forest is also a very good candidate. Red doesn't have any SAMs. There's no SAMs from Tim Baylor up here, who has their hands full dealing with all of these tanks from Crumpets and Yan as well. Bombers from Infenzia are going to head up to the north. There's no SAMs up here, so this is a good call. And this is one of the big strengths of tanks, is their ability to jump on a group of SAMs and at the very least make them move out of concealment. SAMs have to move into this open field. Purple will get a few of them, leaving just 3 SAMs. Probably will get at least one more. And it might even be worth it for Crumpets to just dive this position entirely, take out all of the SAMs, so that Meaty Hams can send in the helicopters. By destroying all those blue SAMs as well, it kind of forces Infenzia to start making SAMs again. Whereas if you're blue, you would just prefer to have already built your SAMs. Now you can just focus entirely on artillery. So real good play from Bravo Team with the tanks in this game. The army from Pink here is enormous at this point. A 3 wide dig-in of every unit that Red has isn't even going to be enough to deal with how many units are pushing through this forest. Great play from Tim Baylor to switch it up and get some tanks. Defends that refinery. The forward refinery for Teal is a little bit exposed. And Yan and Super Crumpets still pushing out the top. Infenzia, off of these, what is going to be 6 factories, is making like a little bit of progress heading into this mountain range. It's still, of course, tough because Alpha Team is outnumbered. We'll see what's going on in stealth. Infenzia's got a capping barracks down here. And over time would be able to win the southern part of the map with a 3rd town already complete. But I'm not sure that Blue's going to be able to have that much time in this game, because this is a very, very scary situation. Obviously, Tim Baylor is in a little bit of trouble, going to lose this refinery. It's not entirely important that Teal keeps this, because there is still this one refinery, but it's going to make Teal sending more tanks into the fight a little bit more difficult. Because this refinery for Teal isn't hooked up to any teammates' refinery or depot right now, so it's really just one refinery for Teal to run as many tanks as they can build. And Crumpet's doing a great job to send these tanks by and just go for a big run by, spread Teal out. The bombers might be able to help out a little bit. Good aggressive refinery, I think, and a barracks from Yan, who also has a factory close to the front. And Pink is, pardon me, starting to breach through this defensive line. And part of the problem about going for a 3 wide defensive line like this is it just, there's so many units that would have to fill that defensive line. And as you can see, they really only filled up this much of the line. The northern part is entirely exposed. Crumpets going right towards this refinery, identifying that shutting down the gas is an important deal, and that Infenzia will... The bombers are really the only threat, in some sense, for Bravo Team. if blue was like able to get up like a huge amount of bombers. Going to be extraordinarily tough to do that. Interceptor, obviously the coolest unit of the game, hands down. We all know this. For meaty hams up here, complementing these 2 helicopters for Yan, who builds another factory close to this refinery. And black should be able to defend this refinery, and Fenzi did a good job to nearly kill this, but wasn't quite able to. Helicopters for Yan take out Tim Baylor's only refinery, so all the teal tanks have to stop. And green is starting to push towards Infenzia. Certainly blue is going to win this fight in the south. But the north part of the map looking a little bit rough. The tanks were cleared up. Great play from Tim Baylor to defend this. Teal's building a power plant at this point, identifying that they can't really take this forward refinery. It's just not... It's not going to be able to be defended. So power plant's making the best of a bad situation. And now it's really just a game of money and economy. If you look top down, clearly Bravo team has more. And in a 4v3 situation can just pay for this win at this point. Just put down 1,000,000 producers. Keep up the pressure and try not to trade so horribly that somehow this game switches momentum. And Fenzi's got to this mountain range, so the capping would start to pick up. But again, there's more pressing things going on the map. Here comes a lot of tanks from purple again that have now traversed this mountain range, so they're going to start speeding up here as they bear down on Infenzia's base. And Yan certainly has it covered in the north. Won't lose this refinery. The color red is out of the game, has elected to leave, leaving it into a 4v2 situation. And that's going to be about it. 6 bombers for blue, but there's a good healthy amount of SAMs for green, as well as 2 interceptors. Helicopters and interceptors out of the green airports. Crumpets now has about, I think, like 6,000 tanks here that are about to destroy this airport. And they will not be able, like, there's no way that these will be destroyed before they get the other airport. If we actually look at Bravo team's vision, the airport is seen with just how many units that Bravo team has here. So it's not like Crumpets has to go looking for this airport. Tanks have horrible vision. But if the target's already been identified, then tanks are just extremely good. You saw that they were target commanded on that airport. It's only a matter of time. Tanks, folks. Tanks. GG, well played. Let's check the income graph. It's like relatively close until Numpty got knocked out. I mean, we saw that Alpha Team went for early town, so it makes sense that their income is a little bit better. But well played. Folks, if you want to learn more about the game, check out the Line War Discord. Always great conversations going on there, great resources to learn. I don't really think there's any more updates. Twitch.tv/SodaQuackers, I stream on there, playing Line War. It's a wonderful game. It is on sale for the Steam Summer Sale. I don't know when this video is going to come out, but it's 25% off. And if the video comes out after the Steam Summer Sale and you missed it, and I just ended up, taunting you that you didn't get in on it, I sincerely apologize. But I look forward to seeing you on ladder. Have a wonderful night, day, evening, breakfast, lunch, dinner, whatever it is. We'll see you around. Peace.